Evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about, I'm sure you've already seen from the thumbnail what I'm going to be talking about. I've received a lot of emails and messages, even here on YouTube. A lot of people have been asking, there's a lot of confusion. People want to find out if my sponsor license has been revoked, what is the way forward. And what I'm noting is that some people are not even aware of the fact that there is a revoked sponsor license and there's a suspended sponsor license, of which the actions which are to be taken by the employers or the employees are different. The one with a revoked sponsor and a suspended sponsor, course of actions that need to be taken are different. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you what it is that is expected. Let's say you have relocated to overseas, or you have not yet relocated to overseas. You are still, maybe you're still in Zimbabwe, you're still in Nigeria, you're still in Ghana, Botswana, whatever, wherever you are, and you're supposed to be relocating to UK. What happens if the sponsor license is revoked? What happens if the sponsor license is suspended? And what happens if maybe your employer's company is taken over by another employer? So this is what I'm going to be sharing with you in today's video. And if you're new to my channel, my name is Pauline Popo Moyo and you are welcome. Thank you for joining me on this live. And as you join, may you kindly smash that like button. So in this live, I'm just going to share with you the information because I'm preparing to go to work, and you are going to ask your questions, and whatever questions that you ask, I'll answer them as I go along. Okay, guys? So first of all, we need to know what a certificate of sponsorship is, because I do get people in the comment section asking what is a COS, what is a certificate of sponsorship. And forgive me, I'm going to be looking down because I jotted some of the things in my paper here. So when we are talking of the certificate of sponsorship, we are simply talking of a reference number that you are given by an employer here in UK who is licensed to sponsor from overseas. How does an employer become licensed to sponsor from overseas? They have to meet a certain eligibility criteria. They apply to the Home Office, and if they meet the eligibility criteria and they're able to prove to the Home Office that they're going to be able to comply with the rules and regulations governing sponsoring of people from overseas, even if it's within the UK, as long as they can prove that, they are given a sponsor license. But once they're given a sponsor license, it does not mean that it ends there. Once they're given a sponsor license, they have to continue adhering to the rules and regulations. So guys, Lindoguhle, how are you? Miselo, Isabel, Sisiwe, Tembi, Onyinye, Afro, Evelyn, good evening, guys. Thank you so much for joining me in this live. So guys, what you have to know is, if you now have a company which is sponsoring you, let's say you are already in the UK and you have a company which is sponsoring you, what can happen to your company are three things. And in those three things, the course of action that you need to take is different, or what you are expected to do as an individual is different. One, there is where the license is revoked. So when a sponsor license is revoked, these are extreme cases where probably the employer is breaking the rules, like seriously breaking the rules. That's one. Two, the sponsor license can be suspended. And if the sponsor license is suspended, it means that they have to do an investigation. Just like, let's say, if I'm at work, I can be suspended for something which I am suspected to have done, but it hasn't been proven. So they have to investigate first. And following that suspension, they can either say I go back to work, or they can either say I stop working. So where an employer has a license suspended, it means that they can still have their license. It can be reinstated. They can still have their license, or it can be revoked, which means there are two options. So I'll start by talking of a situation whereby the sponsor license is suspended. Guys, where the sponsor license is suspended, one, it does not mean that you automatically lose your visa when you're here in the UK, right? If the sponsor license is suspended, it means that because the company is being investigated, you can continue working for that company. You can continue working within the UK. One. Two, if the sponsor license is suspended, let's say you have put in your visa application, because I know a lot of people who have come to me saying, I applied for my visa like 3 weeks ago, or I applied for my visa 4 weeks ago. What am I supposed to do? Minnie, can you not disturb me, please?
Sorry, they didn't let me buy you Red Bull.
That's fine. I'll buy for myself. So I'll go back to that, guys. One, I said, if the sponsor license is suspended, if you are in UK, it doesn't stop you from working. But if you have applied for your visa, I know a lot of people have been waiting for their visas to say, I've applied a month ago, I still don't have a visa. I applied 2 months ago, I still don't have a visa. I applied 3 months ago, I still don't have a visa. What happens is, once the sponsor, let's say it's suspended, once it is suspended, the Home Office also holds, like, they do not process your visa. So for those who've been asking, my visa is not coming out, my visa is not coming out, not only is it due to backlog, but sometimes you have to check your employer's license can be suspended. And if it is suspended, they don't have to issue your visa. They have to hold until the investigation is done. And if the investigation is done, if they say no, your employer is okay, there are no faults, or they manage to rectify their problems within the first 20 days when they identify the problems, they can give them their license back, or they can revoke their license. Then if they revoke their license, it becomes something different. I hope you understand what I'm saying, because I know a lot of people have been waiting for their visas and saying, I don't understand why my visa is not coming out. The visa is supposed to be out in 3 weeks or 4 weeks or something like that. Your sponsor, your employer's license can be suspended, and they're undergoing investigations. And most of the time, these companies, when the sponsor license is suspended, they don't tell their employees. You just see everything at a standstill. If you are here in UK, let's say you have relocated from overseas and you've come here to UK and you haven't started working and your employer's license has been suspended, you still have the right to go and work, because it has only been suspended and you are already here in UK. You can go and work. However, if you are overseas and you've applied for a visa and you already have a visa at hand and your employer's license to sponsor has been suspended, you are not able to travel, the Home Office is going to get in touch with you. So you have to wait for communication from the Home Office so that they get in touch with you and give you instructions. If you look at the website, it's government website, it clearly says that they will have to give you instructions. Before I move on, let me see if I have any questions. How about the issue of hours being few? When it comes to your hours, guys, I'll continue. I'll move on to the revocation. I've explained on the sponsor license being suspended. And if you do not understand, please do ask so that I answer that question before I move on. On the issue of hours, guys, you have a certain number of hours that you have to meet on your visa per given year. If you're not able to meet those hours at the end of the day, when it's time to renew your visa, you will not be able to renew your visa. Because I've noted that there are individuals who come to UK, instead of working the 44 hours, which is in their certificate of sponsorship, they're only working 11 hours. Yet at the end of the year, the 11 hours are not going to make the salary threshold. They say the salary threshold is 22,700 or whatever. That's just an example. If you don't have adequate hours, at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to meet the salary threshold, which means you're not going to be able to renew your visa, right? What if the company's license has not yet been cancelled and you not begin working? If it's not yet cancelled and you are already in the UK, you can still go and work because you are already in the UK. You can only stop working if it has been revoked. But if it hasn't been revoked, you can still go and work even if they are under investigation. Because being under investigation, it does not mean that they are wrong. It does not mean that they are right, but they need to find out whether they are wrong or they are right. So it's important that you clarify They are not supposed to stop you from working. If they're suspended, they're supposed to be going to work. However, you'll be walking on eggshells because you don't know whether the outcome is going to be continue sponsoring from overseas, or we are revoking your license because of whatever issues that we have found. So, Popo, whatever you are explaining, is it the same reason we are not getting jobs at the moment? It depends, because there are individuals who are overseas. Because, guys, a lot of scandals have been going on. So, because a lot of scandals have been going on, I'm sure you've noted that in the past few weeks or in the past couple of months or so, a lot of companies have been losing their licenses to sponsor from overseas. They've been having their licenses are revoked. And then a lot of companies as well have been at a standstill. Most of these companies which are at a standstill, some of them are being investigated by the Home Office, which means some of them are actually what? Suspended. So if the company is suspended, everything is at a standstill. You understand? Everything is at a standstill. Okay? I'm in Botswana and I am done with everything, waiting to get a job, but seems like nothing is coming. Nothing is coming because of all these issues which are going on. Like the Home Office, you know that last year they announced that they are on a crackdown, and that crackdown is to stop the abuse of the health and care worker visa. So because they're on a crackdown to stop the abuse of the health and care worker visa, it means every process, whether it's applying for jobs, interviews and everything, getting a visa, getting a COS, certificate of sponsorship, everything is going to be very slow. They are moving at a tortoise pace. Does it mean that they have stopped everything? No, it doesn't mean that they have stopped. Even if they are moving at a tortoise pace, if you apply to a legit company, which is approved by the Home Office, which is approved by the CQC, you can still get a job. You can still get interviewed. You can still come to the UK, right? How about if I get a switch in these coming months? Will I be able to bring my dependents? It depends. When did you get your COS, for starters? If you are in the UK and you got your certificate of sponsorship before the 11th of March 2024, even if you switch employers because you were in UK before the 11th of March, before these new rules were put in place, you can still bring in your dependents from overseas. All right. Let me see what's next. Christian Cross, how are you? Welcome to the live and thank you for joining. Let me check if there are some more messages. What if the company's license? Okay, this one I think I've answered it. So now, guys, I'm going to move on to a situation whereby there's another situation whereby a company is taken over by another company. When a company is taken over by another company, I'll give you an example. I used to work for a company called Four Seasons Healthcare. Four Seasons Healthcare is still there in England, but in Northern Ireland, they had about 60 homes or whatever. But all the homes which are in Northern Ireland were taken over. They were taken over by different companies. Beaumont Care Homes came and they took over. I don't know whether they took over 20, 30 care homes or whatever, right? So what happens is, depending on the company which takes over your company, let's say you're sponsored by Four Seasons and Beaumont Care Homes comes in. If Beaumont Care Homes does not apply for their own sponsor, because what happens is you cannot transfer a sponsor license from one company to the next, which means a company which is taking over a new company, they have to apply for their own sponsor within 28 days. And if they're not able to apply for their own sponsor license within 28 days, or they don't get a sponsor license within those 28 days, it simply means that you have your COS cancelled, you also have your visa cancelled. And in that situation, depending on the number of days left on your visa, what I mean by that is most people are given 60 days. I know there's a situation. I remember Clara from Clara Immigration once did a video and shared a video where someone only had 21 days, was told that you've got 21 days to leave the UK. And people were arguing with her that the Home Office cannot tell you that you've got 21 days to leave the UK. They usually say 60 days and stuff like that. The thing is, It all depends on when your visa is expiring. If the company, the license is revoked today, and I'm supposed to be renewing my visa on the 28th of June, right? They'll only give me those few weeks. If it's 5 weeks, if it's 4 weeks, if it's 3 weeks, if it's 2 weeks, those 3 weeks or 2 weeks remaining are the number of days that they're going to give me. So Home Office can come to me and send me a letter and say, the company's sponsor license have been revoked. You have 21 days to leave the UK, or you look for another employer and switch to another visa. Now, let that be clear, guys. And then there is a situation whereby the sponsor license has been revoked, right? So when the sponsor license has been revoked, there are two options that you're supposed to take. The Home Office can come to you and say the sponsor license has been revoked. You have your 60 days to look for a second sponsor, or you have whatever number of days is remaining between this day and the expiration of your visa. If it's 3 weeks, that's it. It's 3 weeks. If it's 1 week, that's it. If it's 2 weeks, that's it. If it's 1 month, that's it. And then, guys, there are situations whereby the Home Office can send you a deportation letter and say that your sponsor license has been cancelled. We are sending you a deportation letter and we want you to leave the UK immediately. That happens in situations whereby you as an individual, you are the cause of your employer having the sponsor license revoked. Let's say, for example, you bought a certificate of sponsorship, right? And after buying a certificate of sponsorship, the Home Office says you were fully aware that you're not supposed to buy a certificate of sponsorship. And they come to you and say, because you bought the certificate of sponsorship and you were well aware that you're not supposed to buy a certificate of sponsorship, your sponsor has lost a license to sponsor, and you've been given a deportation letter. It is possible they can give you a deportation letter. They can cancel your visa and cancel because you are the one at fault and you are the one who caused your employer to lose their license to sponsor. You worked hand in hand together with your employer, right? I hope that is clear so far. Let me see if there are any more questions. Guys, as we get into this live, may we kindly smash that like button and share this video with those who are in UK or who are overseas interested in coming over to UK. And before I move on to the questions, there are individuals who are overseas, right? If you're overseas and your employer happens to have their license revoked, at times you'd have received your visa and you're ready to travel to UK, and then the sponsor license is revoked here in UK. In such situations, even when it's suspended, in such situations, you are not supposed to travel to UK. In such situations, your visa is supposed to be cancelled. You understand? But there are situations whereby you travel and you come to the borders and maybe you're not aware that the company has lost their license to sponsor. And if you happen to arrive at the borders, I'm sure you've heard of people who've been told to go back to their countries. You are forced to go back to your country because your employer no longer has a license. So what the government of UK website advises you is, even if you get a visa when you are overseas, do not get excited and say, I'm now going to UK. Constantly check before you go and board that flight that the person or the company which is giving you that visa is actually still there on the website, is actually still there as a company which is licensed to sponsor from overseas. If it's suspended or if it's revoked, the company will not be there. You understand, guys? So you even if you travel to UK, you'll be returned back to your country at the border. Let me see if there's another question. Christian says the UK immigration issue is beyond ridiculous. It is that bad. I currently work in the care sector. Hold on. In the care sector, staff shortages are crazy. I totally agree with Chris. You know, Christian, Now I'm calling him Chris. So I'm now giving you a shortcut to your name. Christian, I totally agree with you. Like the Home Office, like, I don't know. I can just say the UK laws are just plain crazy. I'm sorry to say that, but that is the reality on the ground because I also work in the care sector, guys. Like Christian is saying, the shortage is amazing. There is so much shortage of staff. There are no nurses, there are no doctors, there are no carers, there are no radiographers. There is no staff. There's literally no staff. Vacancies which are in England alone. I'm not counting Northern Ireland. I'm not counting Wales. I'm not counting Scotland. Vacancies in those places are 154,000. 154,000 vacancies, but all this is happening. Nyarai says, I got an email from Avanti Home Care yesterday saying, we have reached out to you since you are shortlisted. So should I complete the application form since UK is now complicated? Nyarai, do you want to come to UK or not? It depends. If you want to come to UK, you can complete the form if you're shortlisted because it's not every individual who gets shortlisted for jobs. It is not easy to get a job or get shortlisted in UK these days. So for you to actually get an email telling you that you've been shortlisted, it is a blessing. And you choose whether you want to take that blessing and throw it away or you want to take that blessing and utilize it. Even if UK is complicated, you utilize it and see how far it's going to take you. Because trust me, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people are sending in their applications day in, day out, day in, day out. Some have sent up to 500 and they've never even got a response saying hi or anything of that sort. So if you are blessed enough to get an email telling you that you've been shortlisted, if it were me, if it were me, I'll fill in the application and see how things go. But it's all up to you as an individual. Do you still want to come to UK or not? If you don't want to come to UK, you can just decline and say, no, I'm sorry, the UK is now complicated. I no longer want to come to UK. The choice is yours. Pretty M, is the government issuing COS currently? The government of UK is currently issuing the certificate of sponsorship. They have not stopped the issuing of the certificate of sponsorship. The only thing is that the issuing of the COS is now very slow because many companies have been suspended. Many companies have had their sponsor licenses revoked. Many companies are under investigation. So before they issue a certificate of sponsorship, they have to check all those things. Remember, Home Office has done its fair share of blunders, right? They have issued certificate of sponsorship. For example, they issued 200 COS to a company which is non-existent. They issued 200 COS to a company with only four people. Company only made up of 4 people. They issued 200 COS. So they've made their fair share of blunders. And to avoid continuing to make those blunders, because those blunders not only did it affect the Home Office, it also affected, the blunders also affected the people who are down here in UK. Because I'm sure you're hearing it every day. People don't have hours. People don't have jobs. People are not going to work. People have been seated for 4 months, 5 months without going to work, right? So now they don't want a situation whereby we go through the same thing over and over again. What they now want to do is to nip it at the bud. They don't want people to be coming to UK to come and sit. So they have to be thorough in everything they are doing. So even if they are issuing the certificate of sponsorship, they have to make sure that the company is a genuine company and the company is in existence and the company is abiding by the rules and regulations which they're supposed to abide by, right? Would like to hear about farm worker visa and which other jobs can get sponsorship besides care. Thank you. There are so many other jobs which can get sponsorship here in the UK, guys. It's not only the care worker visa where there is visa sponsorship. It's only that the care worker visa has been the easiest route to migrate to UK. Why? Because you don't even need a degree for you to relocate to UK as a carer. Farm worker jobs, they are there. There are people who relocated, because I remember speaking to one individual who came through the farm worker jobs and was trying to switch from farm worker to care worker. And I told her that it's unfortunate. Farm worker jobs, you can come to UK, it's only for 6 months. But if you are getting a farm worker job, you have to have money. You also have to calculate. Remember that people who came from Nepal, because they were offered, most of the time they prefer taking people from Asian countries because it's nearer to UK. But there are people who came from Nepal to come and work in the farms. I'm sure I've shared that video. They came to work in the farms, but when they came to work in the farms, they borrowed money and everything. The same thing which is happening with the care worker visa. They sold their everything, but they sold their everything for a visa which was only going to last them 6 months. They paid £5,000 to come to UK just to be farm workers. But when they got here, they found that, let's say maybe it's a grapes that you're coming to harvest, or it's strawberries, and all of a sudden there's a storm and they are all soaked and everything, and there's no work for you. At the end of the day, they were seated, and the monies that they're supposed to pay back, they borrowed monies and everything, they could not make that money. So you have to calculate whether that visa route is really worth it if you're going to relocate to UK for 6 months and then go back to your country. It's fine, but know that when you are using a farm worker route, if it's a temporary visa, anyway, let me just break it into two. There are two types of visas. There's a skilled worker visa for farm workers, right? Then there is a temporary worker visa. For a skilled worker visa, if you're coming to work as a farm worker, whether you're a farm manager or you're an agronomist, I hope I got the word right, agronomist, I don't know whether it's correct, something like that, guys, where you have to have your IELTS band score of 4, you have to, you go through the whole process of the certificate of sponsorship and everything. Whereas the other one, you don't have to go through the whole process, but you have to have your proof of funds of £1,270 in your bank account for at least 28 days to be able to apply for that visa. And also have to have the money for your visa fees. The only advantage is that you are not going to be paying for the immigration and health surcharge. That's the only thing. But even if you're coming to work in the farms, you need to have proof of funds, because it's very rare that employers say we are going to pay for your proof of funds and everything. You pay for your everything. So if you have that amount of money, you can apply for farm worker jobs and come to UK. But mostly they prefer people from Asian countries, the likes of Nepal and stuff like that. All right. What if I'm interested in starting the process but a bit hesitant because of the COS process? What would you advise? You know what? A journey, if you're starting a journey. Guys, I'm starting a weight loss journey. Oh, but it's going to be difficult. I have to weigh whether I have to exercise or eat food, because it's very difficult. Maybe let me just eat food for now. The weather is cold. Let me be eating food for now. Am I going to benefit anything if I don't take any step to move forward? Am I going to lose any weight if I don't take any steps? I just come and say, oh, I want to lose weight, and I don't do anything about it. I just sit and say, hey, but it's very difficult. Oh, I exercise. Ah, it's so painful. Let me just sit and see. Maybe summertime I'll see. I'm not going to yield any results. So if you say, oh, the COS process is taking too long, should I start or should I not start? The difference between someone who has started and someone who hasn't started is that the person who has started is one step ahead, right? A journey of 1,000 miles starts with that. I don't know whether it's 1,000 miles. Journey of 1,000 miles starts with that one footstep. And then you put another footstep in front of the other, and you put another footstep in front of the other. But if you don't start that journey, you will remain at a standstill. So God loves a trier. You try, you fail. Dust yourself up, you try again. But if you just want to give up, you can just give up. Nothing. You're not going to yield anything from giving up. You're not going to yield anything from being a doubting Thomas. I'm sorry to say, because that's what a doubting Thomas does. Sometimes you might give up when you are very near the gold. You are very near the gold. The gold is near. You're about to penetrate into the gold and you give up, and that's it. But another person just tries, because I've heard people like in this, because I come and share information and blah, 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 blah. I've had people we have been applying for 2 years, whatever, and then another individual comes, applies today, and then a week later they are invited for interviews. A week later they've got a COS or whatever, a month later, and they come to UK because they took that very one step. You always fight for what you want. You fight for your dreams. You fight for your everything. If it's a care worker job that you want, you don't give up because no one said life is going to be easy. Nothing is easy in life. The work that we have is not easy. The relationships that we have is not easy. Everything is not easy. But if it's something which is worth it, you look at it whether it's worth it to you. If it's worth it, you fight for it and you take that one positive step forward, right? And then any more questions, guys, before I move on? I've been on this live for 30 minutes and I'm going to work, and I will be leaving you soon. As you can see, I'm already in my work uniform, my oversized work uniform. Do you have any more questions before I move on? If you've got any questions, just drop them in the comments section. Otherwise, this is all that I wanted to share with you. I hope it is clear that you can differentiate between a revoked license, you can differentiate between a suspended license and a what you call this, and we're in a situation whereby the employers change their license to sponsor. Mini, please. Ngicela ungangidisturbi, ngizazonda nti. Ngizazonda. Ngicela ungangidisturbi. So guys, if you are here in the UK, the bottom line is all of us are walking on eggshells. Even if you are currently at work, even if you are going to work every day and you are getting your hours or you're not getting your hours, everyone is walking on eggshells. Why? Because the UK Home Office is on a crackdown, and the UK Home Office being on a crackdown, it simply means that it does not matter whether you've got everything job. If they come for your company, they might find faults in your company, they might suspend your company, they might revoke your sponsor license, they might revoke the certificate, the sponsor license. So you always have to be ready. You always have to be, your ears always have to be on the ground. You always have to be on the lookout. You always have to be checking out, and you always have to have your CV, have your up-to-date CV ready, guys, because I've had individuals who email me, Popo, can you do my CV? I only have a few days left, and you have to always have your CV ready. Update your CV. Do not wait for a situation whereby the license has been revoked and everything. Always have your CV, up-to-date CV ready. Because I've seen CV, someone has been working in UK for 1 year, but the CV doesn't even reflect that they've been working in UK for 1 year. They got the job last year, and because they got the job, they didn't even update that when from South Africa to UK, this is what has been happening. They still have that visa. They still have the CV from whenever they apply for a job, whatever time last year. You understand, guys? So always don't wait for the time where the employer comes or the home office comes and says, oh, your CV or your whatever. Always prepare your CV and have it ready, and always be ready to apply for jobs to other companies, because left, right, and center, the home office is revoking licenses. Every single day, there's an update on the sponsor licenses, and they are revoking licenses. So the home office is the one which is going to reach out to you that your company, the license has been revoked. You've got 60 days to look for another job. And if you need help with CVs, guys, I'll leave the link in the description box. I'll always draft CVs for you at a very cheap price. You just use the seller account and book a CV, and I will do the CV with you. Even if you want a one-to-one session or whatever, just look at the seller and see what it is that you need, and I can help you with that. All right, so if we don't have any questions, guys, I'm just going to give you a minute or two so that if you've got questions, you ask questions, and if there are no questions, I'm going to be rounding off this live. So do we have any more questions? If you don't have any more questions, may you kindly smash the like button as you are watching this video. Kindly smash this like button and share this video with your friends and colleagues interested in relocating to overseas, or those who are in UK, because a lot of people are suffering here in UK, guys. It is very, very, very tough. Things are tough, you know. So I see there are no more. Let me just scroll through. I also think it is horrifying that some carers in UK are facing deportation. It is indeed horrifying, guys. It's not an easy thing for an individual to uproot. You uproot your life. I'm sorry, I'm sweating. You uproot your life. You sell your property. You sell your businesses. You bring your children over here to UK, and after bringing your children over here to UK and everything, you now have a life and everything, and then you are now faced with deportation. Not because it's your fault, but because your company did not comply with the rules and regulations governing the sponsoring of people from overseas. You now have to suffer. You now have only limited time to look for a switch, and it is not easy to switch these days, guys. It's not easy to switch. That's why I always advise people that if you are in a company, if don't switch because your employer is or the employer is rude, or they're harassing me, or anything of that sort. Switch for a genuine reason, like, or maybe I don't have hours, or the license has been revoked, or the license has been suspended, or anything of that sort. You understand, guys? Let's see, Glory. Otherwise, guys, I am off to work. If you don't have any more questions, thank you so much for joining me on this live. If you have any questions, you drop them after this live, and I always respond to all of your questions. If you need help with CV, the link is also going to be in the description box. And thank you so much for joining me, guys. I will see you in my next video. Bye.
Bye. Can I please show? Can I
No.
please show?